Pele's hairs. Pele is the Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes, and this is her hair. So in nature, these lava formations would occur whenever lava gets stretched. For instance, if it falls over edges, or if it gets hit by the wind. In Icelandic, we have a little bit of a different name for them. They're called Nörnaháur, which translates to witch's hair. So you've seen a little bit of the interaction between fire and ice. However, I have brought with me an even bigger chunk of ice, and that we're going to throw at the bottom of the sea. So you can see how quickly the lava turned black and it starts solidifying. And we can also see these wonderful bubbles forming around. So that is the steam that gets trapped in the lava flow. Can't escape anywhere else, and then it forms these nice bubbles. So as you can see, they can be a little bit thinner like over there, but at the bottom of the slide here, a little bit thicker. And they can also pop and just sink in again. All right, so let's have a little sound check. You can hear how solid this has become. I can't quite do that here yet. If you take a closer look, I can still push this in quite a lot. So let's see what happens when I go under the lava. And I will try to lift this for us. So you can see I can still alter the shape. The core is still liquid. This is also what happens in nature. So maybe some of you have visited a lava tunnel on your travels in Iceland already. This is a very good example of how they form. So the outside of the lava flow solidifies, but the core can stay liquid. And if it cools down at a slope, the liquid core can flow out and leave behind a tunnel. If I let this go, you can see this pretty much stays in shape as well. So let's have a look under the front of the lava flow. So you can see I can still flip this like a little pancake. And under it, all the heat was trapped. So this is still liquid as well. You can also do it on this side. This looks like a little lava taco now. Very nice. And this here, I can still lift. But you can see it becomes a little bit heavier for me to lift this, and the texture also looks quite different than to when I lifted it in the first place. I always like to compare this texture to molten cheese or maybe Nutella as well. And yeah, we can see very well how as soon as I expose it to the cold air, the very thin pieces lose the orange glow and just turn black. And also the lava trapped my stick, but that's completely fine. I have another one. I would also like to visualize a little bit how hot the lava is. So I have brought a little piece of paper, and we're just going to throw that over there. So you can see that very quickly sets on fire. It only takes a few seconds. So in the background, you can start to hear these little cracking sounds. And that is created by the lava contracting. So when it cools down, it will contract. That means it shrinks. And at the same time, it will turn into a solid. And that means that the lava can have tiny explosions. Small pieces can fly out. And that is absolutely no problem down there. However, this gets very close to me and my face, so that's why we want to put some safety crates on top of that, and they will just catch any pieces flying out. Throughout the show, you're going to hear, exactly, thank you very much, Lava, that's what I'm talking about. You're going to hear how these sounds intensify, and they're going to be quite loud, but that is nothing for you to worry about. You can probably tell that the lava is still very hot. You don't need me for that. However, I have brought with me a heat gun, so I can point out some different places on the slides as well and name you the exact temperatures. So I'm going to start with the place where I put on the ice in the beginning. So let's see what we have here. 518 Celsius, 964 Fahrenheit. I would also like to find maybe a thin piece on the slide, so maybe the outside of the bubble that I created, because they cool down quite rapidly as well. So here we already have 288 Celsius, 550 Fahrenheit. So then I want to find the hottest place on the slide. And a good indicator for that is always the orange glow. So I'm just going to check over here where I folded the pieces. This just recently was liquid. 643 Celsius, 1186 Fahrenheit. I'm also going to try to somehow get in between these two folded pieces. There I can see the most orange glow. Very similar, 611 Celsius, 1132 Fahrenheit. Still quite the high temperatures they have on the slide, and that is just the outside. The core, of course, can be much hotter still. And I'm going to tell you a little trick about the temperature of lava. So the temperature where lava starts glowing orange is roughly at 600 Celsius, 1000 Fahrenheit. So if you see glowing orange lava, it will be above that temperature. If you see black lava, it will be under that temperature. Does that help you at all in nature? Not really, right? So this is one of the reasons why you always hear from people in Iceland, do not walk on the lava, do not touch the lava. Because you can never be sure how hot it still is after an eruption unless you touch it. And that sometimes is not really recommendable. And that also applies for tiny pieces that could be thrown out throughout the show. They will lay on the ground when we turn up the light. Please don't touch them. People tend to touch them because they think they might have cooled down already. They might still be several hundred degrees hot. So please don't touch any lava that is laying on the ground. Okay, so now I would like to create a sound for you, and you're going to tell me what that reminds you of. Breaking glass, yes. So to emphasize on that, I'm just going to turn up the light a little bit more, so you can see the texture of the lava a little bit better. Very pretty. So the lava has become this very shiny material. So when lava cools down very rapidly, it will turn into volcanic glass. Lava only does that if it cools down very quickly. And some of you might have heard of one specific volcanic glass already. Maybe we have some Minecraft players in the room or some Game of Thrones fans. Can you name me the volcanic glass that I'm talking about? Obsidian, yes. So this here is not obsidian. It is called techilite glass. And the main difference between obsidian and techilite is their mineral composition. So obsidian has a silica content of 65 to 90%, which makes it a very strong material. This here is at exactly 47% silica. So you can tell this is not a quite strong material. Obsidian was so strong that back in the days, it was used for making arrowheads, knives, just weapons